Play the #1 game on iPhone and iPad and clash with millions of players online. Perfect your tactics and unleash your army against rival clans. Challenge your friends and build a fortress they cannot defeat. Play Clash of Clans, available free on the App Store.
Moro.
Moi, ostin kanan. Ostin kanan. Älyttömän. Kanan. Ostin kanan.
Halo, ootte siellä?
as a trainee in 2007, and we mostly focused on mobile games there until we moved towards Facebook games and iPhone games. And after that, it's been mostly at Supercell doing mobile games for iPhone and iPad handsets. So the workflow that I'm going to present you today is not going to be the best or the perfect solution, but it works for me. And hopefully after this presentation, it will give you as well some tips and tricks or ideas of your own that you can implement in your own workflow. So without further ado, let's get started. How I start first about the idea process is that in this case, I started with already a vague idea what I'm about to do. So I started with this messenger character that is a bit rotten on the outside and not quite dead, but he's pronouncing the end of the world and trying to voice his opinions. So how the process starts is moment, I'll choose here. Oh, God. It starts with basically doing these thumbnail silhouette sketches. In this process, it's not important to focus on details at all. Just let your mind flow and get ideas to the paper. So as the process evolves, I start doing a bit more exaggerated poses, like seeing how the character could evolve in something different. Like for this case, it's a bit bent backwards here, and can we, there's monster sounds coming everywhere. Ooh. Okay, that's testing. 1, 2, 1, 2, yes. So, in the third process, I started implementing already some little nuggets of detail here and there, just silhouette-based, just like massing out the silhouette to see where it goes from. And for the final one, there's mostly facial features, like what's it going to be? Is it in agony totally? Is there going to be nails and skulls hanging around? And in this part, I got the idea that maybe his hands are cut off and they are placed here on the apparatus on his back. That is a wheel of some sorts. And it's pointing the chaos symbol or something like that. So after that, when I'm satisfied with the overall thumbnails, I choose the actual image that I'm starting to paint the whole process on. So I chose the number 1 because I like the pose somewhat. And, well, you could say it's a mixture of 1 and 2. And in this case, it starts with a little bit more details here and there. The background isn't necessarily that important in this stage. I want to focus on the character and bring it into flesh more. So as stages go through more, we get into more detailed versions where we basically get more value studies, like where the light is coming from and how it stands on the actual rock or whatever that is. And in this part, I also got the idea to add on these little paper pieces that are some sort of biblical references or something like that. And on the background, it's just total chaos, not focusing on any details at this point. So when I'm satisfied with the character overall design, oh, it's getting heavy. Oh, sorry about that. wrong file. That was supposed to show last. Close your eyes, everybody. So the process just goes on, and at this point, it's good to flip the image every now and then, because you get used to the image while you're painting. And when you flip it, everything that you think is wrong and you see is wrong will show up here, like the anatomy, the general way of how the flow goes. And this is the way to fix things, like get a new fresh perspective on the image altogether. And well, yeah, after that, just go into more details, add more layers, and in this case, I went with a black and white image, but after that, I just splashed in some colors. It was a bit fast image for me to do. The lighting isn't necessarily that spot on, and the colors might be a bit wacky here and there, but you know, it gets the point through. So, that's basically in a nutshell how I usually work images or character concepts. So what I'm going to do here today is we will start with the silhouette thumbnail process. I have a somewhat vague idea what I'm going to do, which is this sort of executioner character. And how we start is just choose. Well, for custom process, I choose usually, well, I've grown fond for Baron Thierry brush set. You can find it on the internet. It has a relatively good set of different kind of brushes that you can use for sketching and finalizing your images. Lots of texture brushes as well. So let's choose my favorite brush, the My Brush, and we choose black, because black is best. And start thinking about the overall silhouette. I want this character to be a bit bulky and fat and a bit rotten here and there, so let's just start drawing ideas here. In this process, it's not necessary to concentrate on details at all. It will go ugly as hell, but that's what we're aiming for. Monsters are ugly. So maybe it has a axe of sort. And we concentrate on another version. Maybe the head is more lower than the other one has it. And perhaps the axe is more in his hand, like bolted in. And the other arm is a bit more freely here. And if you want to continue your current variations, you can just, take a copy and work from there. For example, they could be like spikes coming here and there. Maybe it's a bit sideways more. So these are pretty fat here right now, so let's try something else. Maybe the head is more extended in here, like so it's hanging on the spine a bit, and the fatty torso is still there, but it's a bit off. Maybe this is more of a side profile, and the hand is less muscly. And that's not the monster sound that I was looking for. Okay, so maybe one more, just for good measure. What could happen here? Let's go just freakishly crazy. Not think about anatomy at all, just poor ideas here. And there's a leg here and a leg there, and it's like loitering around. The belly is more forward. With the head is more dead already as well. Well, that didn't become that fruitful after all, but you know, it's good to experiment. So after this process, when you have like created these silhouettes, it's time to think about like, could I combine these somewhat more, or could I go on even more and think about different poses? But because we're on a bit tight schedule, I'm gonna go with the number 3. You're in the line. So we will just make this a bit smaller, if we can. And then we choose this little bugger here. Let's put him into a, make it a bit bigger. So at this point it's time to flesh out a bit more detail. What are the clothes, what are the armaments, and what are the scary factors of the monster? So let's just start fleshing out a little bit here and there. As I mentioned before, we could have spikes here that are in it, and maybe the arm is a bit more muscular. Oops. And it's also good to think about where the light would be coming from. The cleaver could be a bit lower. Maybe it comes somewhere in here. Yes, that's good. And then not forgetting about the bolts. The bolts are necessary to the cleaver to get it in there, and maybe the legs could be a bit... I'm terrible at doing legs, so bear with me. I should practice them more. So we just work here a bit more. What kind of... Okay, so maybe the face could be a pile of heads together, jolted up. All the heads that he has... How do you say it? Chopped off. So maybe they are all here as trophies, and just a general idea of the sculpture here, that where they could be. The spikes could come a bit everywhere, and the shoulder muscle could use more flesh, and the forearm is a bit Popeye right now, so we will go ahead and fix it more into this shape. So yeah, We got nails, we got head, we got bulky posture. I suppose we're pretty okay with that one. But, aha, now we flip it. And we see it totally differently. Maybe we will choose the light source totally different here. Maybe it's coming from this way here. Put some more muscles in there. Muscles are good. It's a heavy duty. Maybe the rib cage is open a bit here, like that's how he keeps the heads in position. And maybe also we will put here like a loincloth, because monsters need pants. Unless you're doing, of course, a pin-up picture of a monster, but I don't see that happening. Also, maybe it has like iron boots. Iron boots are cool. This is how he kicks the unfortunate people that are put into justice. So yeah. Okay, so 20 minutes have passed around, so... Oh! God, what did I do? So I suppose that design serves our purposes for now, so... After this, we will just copy it and put it into a fresh new image. So what I usually do is I just use A3. It's a good place to put. It has enough room in it and give some padding to the image itself. Also the creature itself is a bit crooked this way, so I'm slightly tilted this way. Now, so that we don't... Damn it. Huh? There we go. So basically, when you put a black silhouette image into a white background, it's good to set the background tone somewhat similar. You don't make it too contrasty and you don't make it too dark. And also, at this point we could start doing a bit of shadows. I said something that the light would be coming from this way, so maybe it's a bit over there. And then the background could be just something ugly. Let's go with a texture brush. This is how the magic happens. This is how the pros do. We just splash things here. Okay, not that much. Thank God for undo. Undo. Oh, yes. No. Yes. Thank you. So. A bit of more there and just a nugget of blackness. Not that much. So when we get the image there and we get something onto the background, it doesn't necessarily have to be anything. Usually what I do is I make a duplicate or a second image of the actual image and set the zoom level somewhere around, well, in this case 25, but I suppose 33 is pretty good. The reason for this is because when we start to go in to the image, you can just basically watch the original viewing distance of the image itself while working the details, so you don't get too affected into the facial features and it gets too sharp in the end. So this is how we keep it like loose and not go too much into detail. Also, at this point, it's good to think about what is your focus point of the character. Where do you want the eye sit, so to speak? So, for this image, I wanted to lay here on the skulls and the face, of course, because it has face, so people usually want to look at the face first and so on. So let's get right to it. And zoom a bit in, and we start doing a bit of a dot burn things here as well. We will choose a bit softer brush. And just maybe there's a bit more heads. Maybe these are skulls. Skulls are easy to do, faces not so. It's also good to not detail the image. It's good to work all around the image at the same time. More light here. Also working on black and white images, it's easier to see how your values. It's a great way to practice your value studies. Like see where the light is going and where the shadows should build up and where your counter light is usually, and all these little things that make the image more alive. So, biceps. More value. Maybe it doesn't have that much shadow because it's a bit of a round object, so maybe it's... Yes, I know, high memory usage. And then the arm. Maybe the hand could be a bit more towards the viewer. This looks like a rotten space marine or something like from StarCraft. Like this part here is like, hey, pass all the... Don't worry, we'll make it a skull as well. So maybe there's a bit... But the guy is more... Doesn't have any garments on his upper torso at all. The belly is saggy as hell. And there's too much contrast on the boots here, so... Let's go ahead and... So the leg behind is only gonna have light coming from here, but the boot must be a bit more heavier, has to have more mass. Oh yeah, the cleaver. And the cleaver could be a bit more. Let's make it so that it's a spine going all the way to the tip. And then there's like this saw blade edge. And more shadows here and there. And at this point, aha! Totally looks different again. But now we can see a bit more of the errors that are here. So we know that the belly has a bit too much, and this isn't working at all. It needs to have a bit more shadow in this area. And let's bulk up a bit. Why isn't it giving me any? Okay, that's too much. Just wondering why the bicep didn't get any highlights. Okay, let's go more inside and start fleshing out these faces a bit more. Maybe this actually is a face. It's his head, but he's covered with other skulls or faces as well. So this eye sockets, they're just little details. It's a bit here and there. God, this is going to be horrible. Maybe this one is like biting to the breast area there. And the lower layers will be a bit more darker. They don't be so visible, so we don't have to focus on so much details on those. Also the other breast here is coming somewhere around here, and the chest is open a bit like that. And maybe the spikes are coming from here as well. Oh. There. Now, of course we need a belly button. Belly buttons are important. We will distinguish him as a human being. And some pubic hair to go with it. That's it. So let's go back with the... do a bit of a study here that how could we improve. It's a bit mirrored with the saw blade, so we'll actually make this a bit different. Sort of like a hook in the end. Details here and there. Think about the lighting, how it would flow. I always forget how it flows properly, so I just usually tend to put highlights almost every place, and then I notice that it's lit up like a Christmas tree in the end. So let's go back here because we want to focus on the chest area. Let's go into super detailing. Put a little eyeball there that I'm watching you. It's like saying that I'm not dead yet. Leave that alone for a while. Well, maybe it gets a bit of a highlight there. So I was saying before that this one could be a bit biting. The actual meat here hanging. So how we make teeth? This is how we make teeth. We make black silhouettes of them and then choose something a bit brighter and just paint over it. And then a bit shadows here and there. Looks a bit fine there if you like. It doesn't have to be that detailed. Maybe it's even missing one. And the jawbone here, the eye socket is a bit screwed. And maybe the flesh is a bit rotten from here as well. Okay, now we start to see that this area probably needs more shadow, so it goes more inward, so the chest will hold those skulls in. Well, maybe not that much, but almost. Ah, darker. No, it's not darker. Let's make it more darker. And for some reason, my Japeq color is not working. We'll have to do it this old-fashioned way. There we go. Okay, now it's getting echo from somewhere. I'm in a cave now. Little things. Also at this point it's good to save. What shall we call this? Assembly. Monster. Yeah, here we go. A bit more highlights here and there. Maybe the bone isn't. That's too heavy a bit there. And this side as well, it's... The head looks a bit comical. It's a bit too big, so let's do it so that we select that whole thing there and we will make it smaller. Maybe it has... not like that. Maybe it has, like, friends here as well. Well, there's whole family in there. But what we are going to do is that this one is a bit more crooked. of time. There's never enough time when you go into detailing. Try to keep it loose still at this point even. Try to think about the whole image. Clean up like here and there these unnecessary outlines, and of course in here it's going to be a bit more. And maybe this one even has its nose still. Bit over the eyeballs there. And there's the spike. Spikes need love too. Slipping out of through the shoulder area. And to make it a bit rounder, let's give it a bit shadow here and light from here. Let's see how our Dodgebird acts this time. Hey, it's actually working. The other socket needs an eye too. Okay. Is it just my headset or are things ringing here? Think about the shadows. It's getting crowded in here. And here we go. And this one definitely needs some more shadows there. Let's even bring it a bit. The reason I'm now focusing on the skulls that I try to make it as complete as possible, because we run out of time anyway, so we will get something at least done here.